Hello. Hey guys, we're just starting a little video series here, or I'm thinking about it. And basically, the series is going to be me fishing, because that's a new hobby that I picked up while I'm out here, and talking about drum corps stories. And I could think of no better story to start off with than an audition story and the time that I thought that I got cut from a drum corps. And this is Blue Devils. The way that this story starts off with is it's 2022. It's 2021, and RCC just started back up the Marching Tigers, the marching band, over at RCC College, Riverside City College. You know, I'm living on my own in an apartment in Riverside, and I wasn't really sure if I wanted to march drum corps. You know, I wasn't in the best position financially, let's say. At least when I was in high school, a dream of mine was to march Blue Devils. And, you know, after I started marching drum corps, I wasn't sure if I still wanted those same things anymore. I was thinking about going back to Pacific Crest, but, you know, just wasn't really sure. Probably wasn't going to march. At this point, I had 2 more years left. I had 2022 and 2023 left. And I just wasn't sure, you know, where I wanted to go, if I wanted to go anywhere. Just, you know, really unsure. So we're in rehearsal. We're doing trumpet sectionals at RCC for the marching band. And what you need to know is that the band director at RCC is actually one of the trumpet techs at Blue Devils. And he would end up being a really great mentor to me. He asked me after our trumpet sectional, "Hey, are you marching anywhere this year?" And I had told him, I don't really know. I might go back to Pacific Crest. You know, I've been there for 3 years if you consider 2020 a year. You know, I have a lot of friends that are there, and I was just thinking about going back, or even if I was marching at all, I'm not really sure. And he said, "Well, have you thought about joining Blue Devils? You know, auditioning for Blue Devils?" And I said, "I mean, yeah, kind of when I was in high school, but I don't really know if I would make it, or, you know, what I need to do to get myself up to that level." And he's like, "Well, you know, just come try." And so I thought about it, and I talked to him after that full rehearsal, and asked him some questions, you know, what I need to work on, and one of my friends who, at this point, I would say, like, we were decent friends. I don't know if we were the greatest of friends quite yet. We would get there. But we played together in the wind ensemble at RCC and in the marching band. And so, and he also had marched gold in the past. And so he went up with me because he also wanted to march. Asked also, "Hey, what do I need to work on? Is there anything that you think I need to be able to make the corps?" And he didn't exactly get the response that he wanted. And it wasn't as specific and tailored to his playing. And so he was really disappointed about that. And so that gave him a drive to audition. And that will come into play way later. So that guy was Adonai. And Adonai was and still is a really, really great friend of mine, and would be throughout my time marching and also after marching. And so Adonai and I both went up to audition at Blue Devils. I started my audition process in October. They had these lookout camps where they were just like, it was like a talent search, I think they called it, the talent search. And it was in Southern California. They weren't giving out contracts. It was just a contractor cut basis. And it was like the weirdest audition that I think I'd ever had. There was, like, for the visual audition, which, you know, at the time, I don't know so much nowadays, but at the time, you know, like, Blue Devils was kind of known in the community for, if you audition there, you have to be a god visually. And it was such a weird thing, because I went there and we did some marching basics. It was like basically like across the floors. We didn't really do anything crazy visually. And then they were like, "All right, well, did you guys learn the choreography from the video?" And everybody's like, "Huh? What video?" And they're like, the video, I thought we sent one out. And we were like, every single person there was like, no, nobody got a video. He's like, oh, okay, so why don't you guys just do some type of choreography that you can think of? And so we just stand there and look at each other, and we're like, what the hell? And so I had to like think up of a visual that I had in the past that was long enough to, and so I ended up doing that visual, and it was just a weird process. And then after that, I went to go do my playing audition, and I played for the director that had asked me to go audition in the first place, and I had a pretty decent audition. It wasn't perfect, but it was great. It was good. I was kind of interested in my results because they didn't send it to you till like a week after your audition, which was so weird. But I ended up going and talking to the director at RCC, the marching band, and asking him if I got a call back or if I got cut, or just how that was going. He's like, well, you're gonna get an email soon. And I was like, come on, man, if I got a call back or a cut or whatever, just tell me. He's like, oh, you'll find out soon. So a few days later, I get an email, and in that email, I got a call back. So I was super excited about that. So I was excited. I got a call back. I would have to go back up in November, so that was October. Oh, damn. I would have to go back in October. I go back in October. It's a decent audition. Again, not the best. I don't think it was as good as... it took my bait. I don't think it was as good as the previous audition that I had in October. So visually, it was also really weird. It was again, one of the weirder visual auditions that I had, because, Pacific Crest, I was used to, you show up, you do some stretch. It's like a normal rehearsal, kind of, I would say. And you do some marching basics pretty much the whole time. And if they decide to talk about technique at that camp, they'll talk about technique. And at Pacific Crest, we were known for doing bent legs. So, that was just kind of my experience in the past. And so at Blue Devils, yes, we did basics. We had 2 blocks of visual on each day. And so we had 4 blocks total of Viz, if I remember correctly, and 2 blocks of brass. I want to cut this a little bit smaller. And the first block, we did some stretch, we did some basics like normal, and at the end of the first block, they taught us this choreography. And they wanted us to learn the choreography and be prepared for the block after that, the afternoon block, where we would perform the choreography as like a visual audition, kind of. And so it was super just weird for me because I wasn't used to it. And, Pacific Crest, I wouldn't say we did the most like dance work over there. And so it definitely was a different experience having to try to learn this choreography, go eat lunch, and then if you finish lunch early, go practice that choreography on your own. After lunch, we would go back, and we were in this gym. We had some choreography, and so they just called out, we worked on it all together as a full audition camp, I guess. And then they called out specific people that they wanted to see. And so everybody else would go sit in the stands while the staff watched these cats audition. And you would be called out you could be called out 2-3 times. Some people were called out like almost every single time so they could watch. Some people went out and did their audition once and then weren't called out again. And to me, that was kind of the bad thing. Like if you go out and you do that once and then that's it, you're probably cut visually, which isn't the most exciting thing to say, but you could kind of tell. If you were watching and you saw the way people performed and you saw they weren't asked out again, you're like, oh, that's it. And then at the end of that camp, we both get callbacks to come back in December. And between then, I had COVID between November and December. Go back in December, and the COVID had just really destroyed my lungs and my playing ability. And so I didn't have a really good audition in December. Then now it's January. And at this point, especially in the trumpet section, kind of figure out who's contracted, who's callbacked, how many spots are open, how many people am I competing with for this spot. And so it's January now, and me and my friend Ad and I think it was one other guy, were like the last 3 trumpet players still going through the audition practice, the audition, that we're still auditioning in the trumpet section. And so there's 1 trumpet spot left. There's 3 people competing for 1 trumpet spot. That was stressful. And so all through January, I know, like, dude, only one of us is staying here and the other 2 are going home. And my friend is the guy that I'm competing with. We definitely got closer as the season went on, as the audition process went on. And so I'm like, my friend is the guy that I'm competing with. And I would feel so bad if he got cut, but I also don't want to get cut. I'm not going to do that to myself. And so, we didn't end up doing an individual audition that I can remember. And so that was like scary because I'm like, dude, they're not doing individual auditions. What's going on here? And so we go through the block. It's just a normal rehearsal for everybody else because like 90% of the corps is already contracted. For them, they're just here to rehearse and work on the music and do that kind of stuff. But for me, I'm stressed out because I'm like, dude, I might go home and I might not have a place this summer, and I might just be screwed out of a tour. It's the last block of the day. They just told the mellophones that they had all received contracts, and so they were all happy. And so I think the baritones and the euphoniums had already also been contracted, and so the contracts. So the trumpets are literally the last ones left. There's 1 spot. There's 3 people, and so just like scary. And it's the last block. And then I see, we're in brass at this point. Then I see them pull Ad and I aside. And I'm like, okay, he's either cut or contracted. This is going to be the deciding factor of if I go home right now. I see them talking to him. He starts smiling. And then I ask him how it went. He's like, I got contracted, dude. And I'm like disappointed in my heart, but I have to be happy for him. I'm like, dude, I'm so excited for you. You're going to have such a great summer. And so we go on through the brass block, and I'm just sitting there. My heart's sunk. I pretty much know at this point that I'm cut. And then like 5-10 minutes later, he's like, yeah, man, like on our next water break, he's like, yeah, man, I'm going to be playing mellophone this year. And I look at him with like the dumbest face. I'm just like, dude, you just gave me the most amount of anxiety that I think I've ever had in my life. You made my heart sink. You stressed me out so much. That was a fish. Why didn't you just tell me right at the beginning that you were going to be contracted on mellophone? He's like, I don't know, man. I was so excited. I just didn't even think about it. And so I'm like so stressed out here. I thought I got cut. And this guy is just not telling me that he was going to be marching mellophone this year. And so that was just a funny story. Later at the end of the day, I ended up sitting down with the brass staff so that they could tell me my audition result, and they told me that they were going to contract me. I wasn't a alternate or anything at a full spot. I just happened to be the last guy contracted at Blue Devils, I want to say. And then the other guy, the third guy on trumpet, also ended up being a high brass alternate. He would end up also marching the full season as a full member, also on mellophone. So, that was just the story of the time that I thought that I got cut. Ad and I would end up marching 2023 and 2024. And this recent year, he was actually a drum major. So, it's a really funny story. Him and I are still good friends. It's just sad we don't get to chat more often because, really enjoyed that guy. Worked with him at a couple schools and always had a good experience working with him and marching with him. And he was a good friend. That's that story. If you like these types of videos, I wish I could catch a fish on camera. That would have been great. If you like these kinds of videos, let me know. I just think it's kind of peaceful. Might not be the quietest, but I think it's just a nice place for me to talk to the camera about my tour stories. If you have any other tour stories that you might want to know about, let me know. Or if you have a tour story you want to say in the comments, go ahead and post that up. I usually comment on all of these, or reply to all of the comments, so at least I read all of them. So, I will see you guys next time.